Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 106 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly AR, VR, and MR talk show live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can also catch the show live in VR and chat with other like-minded VR enthusiasts using big screen TV. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Anchor, and also on Spotify. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try and answer as many questions as we can. Of course, now it's time for me to introduce you to the team. First up, this guy is totally addicted to bass, rocking his sub pack when he shoots his way through alien planets. It's VR streamer Zim 5. How you doing, man?
I'm very well, thank you, Mike. I am addicted to bass. Actually, it's something I feel like I've been, standing on a little pedestal, a very small pedestal, shouting about this with my megaphone for like 3 years, and only this week did I kind of revise my my previous statements to say, like, you should really consider buying one of these things quite early on, like before you even, if you bought like a PC VR setup, like consider getting like a bass pack or something to help augment your experience, because the immersive add-on to like 50% of your games is just mega. So yeah, I enjoyed my sub pack this week.
An advocate of bass, there you go, from Zim 5. Next up, he's the rock star of the group. No hotel room is safe with this guy around. He's Wreck-It Rowdy. It's the Rowdy guy. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing all right. I like that name, Wreck-It Rowdy. Yeah, that's kind of like summarizes the experience indeed. I have quite the past in being a rock star, like in a formal life. More on that maybe later. But no, I'm good. I'm good.
Because it's true, right? You were the lead singer of a band.
Multiple ones, yeah. I was.
Yeah, there you go. Little bit of Rowdy's past there for you. Next up, this guy loves nothing more than a game of hide and seek in VR. Catch him if you can. It's our Frisian friend. It's Nathie. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing great. In the chat, I see someone saying that you got a new haircut. I don't know about that. I can't really. Maybe I didn't pay attention.
No.
No.
Didn't take a couple inches off there, Mike? No, you sure?
It's weird.
Nothing's changed for about, well, maybe over 10, 12 years now, I think.
It's
the same. Yeah. But yeah, well, maybe they don't know who I am. Maybe that's why. So I'll let you know. I'm the host of the show, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's show, we've got a packed show for you because we've got loads of topics to talk about. Some of the highlights include a new action-packed racing game called Deathlap. Also, the horrifying Five Nights at Freddy's is coming to augmented reality in a game called Special Delivery. Really looking forward to talking about that. We give our thoughts on the HTC Vive Cosmos. Now we have more information, finally, and we can talk about the price and the release date. Zim's going to give you the lowdown on the latest game releases to look forward to next week. And then finally, Nathie's going to tell us about his experience trying a VR roller coaster at a Dutch theme park. So awesome show lineup for you today. But first, let's start the show with how we usually start the show, and that is by finding out what everyone's been up to and their highlight of the week. And of course, Zim is first.
Yay! Everybody clap. No, I had to defend my nuts this week. From a bunch of hungry squirrels who were trying to take them. I finally got a chance to play Acron. I didn't expect it to be so... I expected it to be polished. I expected it to be one of those games that you would look at and go, yeah, it's good, but no one's going to play it. And I played this with almost no heads up, and we had a full match. I think it was seven squirrels and me as the tree playing it. It was very much like what I would call like Jackbox style. So if anyone's played the Jackbox party mode, you can have people, they just get a code, they have a mobile app, and they jump in. And I found, like, from launching the game and playing with 2 squirrels, we went from 2 squirrels to, I think, 7 other squirrels in the span of 5 to 8 minutes. So people were watching this and going, oh shit, me too. Very easy to download. It's only like a couple 100 MB download, so it's very easy on your phone or your tablet or whatever. Works on all the platforms. And then you play this massive tree as the VR player, and there's no tutorial or whatever, which I love. I absolutely love. You just jump in, you just host a game, people get the code, they punch that in their name, and then they're running trying to grab your nuts. And you have to throw seeds and things at them. You got this big sticky ball of goo which slows them down, but they get it all. It's like Fortnite coming at you. Like, it's a really intense experience. I did not expect it to be so intense. They're literally, you know, when you see kids building Fortnite towers and that, and it's like it just like there's like ladders and whatever. Ladder's the wrong term, but like an inclined 45-degree planking structure, and you got this ramp. Thank you. Jesus, I did it again. So you got these ramps coming at you from all directions. You're trying to knock the ramps down so they can't come at you. And they're doing this like left, right, ducking behind rocks. Really sneaky. And I haven't yet seen their view, like how it is from the tablet, but they can burrow under the ground with a certain special ability. So you just see this tunnel coming at you and you can't do anything until they pop out. They've got this like tiki shield that they can put in front of them as they run forward. It takes 3 hits before you can actually get to the squirrel. And if you manage to peg a squirrel goes down and they reset. And I think they have to wait for like 15 seconds or something before they come at you again. It's an incredibly fun dynamic. I will be playing this game a lot. It was an immediate must-buy. I am really surprised. But like games like Keep Talking, Nobody Explodes, where you can have lots of fun with people on the internet. And in that game, you just need to be talking. This one, you don't even have to talk. You can just literally join the game with the code, and you're having a blast. And it was amazing. It was great. Anyone else played that here?
Oh yeah. It makes VR social. That's the magic of this one. And usually you can also, if you have a Quest, you can stream, of course, to a mobile phone or to a TV. But it's not the same thing if people can't play with you. And with this, it's like everyone is a part of the adventure, and that's amazing.
I really think it's an underrated game out the gates, and I think that Resolution Games, who've done other games that I've loved, like Narrows on the go, this deserves to be like a hot seller at the top of the store. Mike, did you say you've played it as well?
Yeah, so it was actually going to be my highlight of the week as well.
Oh, right.
But you're totally right. You know, it's asymmetrical, so a bit like Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. One person's in VR, all the other players are on mobile. I'm intrigued. Did you play it locally multiplayer, or did you play it online multiplayer?
Must have been online, because people were playing from a bunch of different countries with me, you know.
Right, because they really market the game as a local multiplayer game, and I'm sure it's probably best played that way, but you can totally play it online with other people completely around the world. And that's exactly what I did. And I don't know if you did the same thing with your communications, but basically I played this with my Discord server and used Discord as the communication platform. So we all went into a private lobby together so we could talk to each other, and then we played together. I don't know if you communication.
Yeah, we didn't even do that. So like it was literally just me yelping and screaming as I'm throwing nuts at people.
Yeah.
And then, well, I mean, it was like an onslaught. You must have done the same thing because you got a lot of viewers. So it was really good fun. I mean, it was like, I was totally unexpected. But the thing is, I think they mismarket it. Don't market it as a couch game. No way. Market it as, you know, you can just jump in and play with the internet. Like,
yeah, but I think the reason why is because the Quest doesn't have Discord or anything like that. So communication-wise, you can't pull it off. But yes, if you're on PC, then you can definitely turn it into an online multiplayer. But I think the marketing in this case was all about standalone. I was surprised it was on PC. I first didn't even knew it was on PC, and I even went to their office. I was like, what the heck? But this is not just standalone, huh?
But it's kind of one of those games that the rounds are so fast-paced. Maybe they might take, 2 to 3 minutes each?
Yeah, there's even a countdown on it, so it's always short. Yeah.
It's quick.
And at the end of each round, obviously, it's established whether the squirrels or the tree win. But everyone was just screaming, like, again, let's go again, like another round. And they just kept on going for a good hour and 20 minutes.
And did you find it is a good game for exercise for the tree?
My arms killing me, yeah. And I think that would be the only benefit of playing locally, would be that, say, if you lost as the tree, that you'd have to give up your role and then you'd swap places.
That's a party system.
Yeah. I think that was the only thing that really I was missing playing it online with other people. But Eric Hartley joined and played as one of the squirrels on mobile, and it was just great, like having a laugh and talking with them all at the same time. But yeah, I totally loved it, and I would highly recommend it. And the great thing is, like you touched on, is that you pay for the VR app, whether it be on mobile, with the Quest, or on PC. But the mobile app is completely free, that you can play on a mobile phone or a tablet, which is great. So you can get so many squirrels on board for free, and that's why I have played with 7 squirrels as well, which is super intense experience.
It's just so fantastic. And the thing is, this model of advertising a game, the game itself will self-promote, is supported by things like I said, Jackbox, but really far back along, StarCraft, which is a real-time strategy game, had an installer on a CD where you could go and spawn an install on your friend's machine, and then you could host a server online. And up to, again, 7 players and you as the host could play that. So you exchange the disc at school in the schoolyard, and it made StarCraft go like bananas. Like everyone was playing it for that reason, because it's like off of one disc. And it's this concept that free-to-play games do a really good job of, which is you construct a watering hole and you bring them to the trough, and then it's like, oh, but I want to drink a water. It's like, well, then you're going to have to pay for it if you want to drink without the host being there. I love it. Yeah. I think Resolution games deserve a big applause. 2 thumbs up from me anyway, and obviously Mike as well.
Yeah, I think one of the great things is as well, if you played it in a local multiplayer setting, say with family or friends, it's kind of one of those games that doesn't have any movement as the tree in VR. So you could easily give it to like your grandmother or your mum or your sister, and they could play the game without ever trying VR before and understand how it works and not get motion sick or anything like that. So I think it's the perfect introduction to family and friends as well if they've never played VR before. Yeah. That's Acron, available on Rift, Quest, and other PC VR headsets on Steam.
Yeah, fantastic.
So I'll quickly dive into what I did, because bearing in mind that was my highlight, but I'll also mention another game that I played, and that was Touring Karts, and that was another game that I've been quite excited about. Now, I actually went out of my way and bought a Vive tracker to play this game, this game.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So I had my full racing wheels set up with my Vive tracker strapped to my hand, because I wanted to replicate the feeling of playing that Mario Kart arcade game, which I tried in London, which was fantastic. So if you're ever near the London O2, go check it out. It's amazing. But I was disappointed. I ended up being quite disappointed about this one. And I've seen a lot of people hyping this game up, and a lot of people asking for this to be on Quest. And quite honestly, it's one of those games that I can kind of look at, having played it, and said, maybe it doesn't quite hit that Quest quality barrier. The game feels very hollow, in that it doesn't feel like you're grounded to the cart, and the cart doesn't have enough sound or anything like that to feel like you're in a cart. The sounds for some reason of the cart themselves are very muted, and you can just fly off these ramps, and it feels like you're getting a lot of air.
It's like it sounds like you're driving, but you're floating. Very
floaty feeling, yeah. And you can drift around the corners, but also that isn't particularly satisfying either. And I had problems with the Vive tracker. I could grab items just fine, but I couldn't release them. And I just couldn't get that to work properly. And the devs suggested it was the way I was throwing. But I was like, dude, like if I'm...
There's only one way you can throw.
There's only one way to do this, exactly. So if it's not working, it's not working. So I was planning to cover this one on a video, but I ended up dropping it because it just didn't quite meet that quality bar for me. So hopefully someone else will come out with a kart racer that is similar to that Mario Kart experience, or maybe Touring Karts will step it up a little, improve what they've already got.
Yeah, because you know what I noticed is that I've seen a lot of people playing this game as well on video too. You know, there was like this big campaign going on, like, hey, are you a YouTuber? Go play our game, have fun. And then I saw a lot of people struggling with even controlling their karts. Like I felt like driving was also a bit on the hard side. I don't know if you experienced that, but it must be like if you play Mario Kart, okay, if you don't know how to drift, fine, and you just go slow through a corner, fine, that's okay. But in this one, like they were constantly bumping into everything.
Well, that's the problem. The tracks are so short and condensed, and they are mapped off or inspired by real world tracks, which I do admire from the team to implement that. And the cars as well look great. But like you say, because you start in a high-end kart anyway, it's not like you start in a really low-end kart. So you have to drift right from the very beginning. Whereas in Mario Kart, like you said, you took it easy on the 50cc karts. You didn't even have to drift around a corner. You could just make it.
Yeah.
Whereas you have to drift straight off the gate with this game to progress.
Oh, so the karts could be too fast for the tracks.
I think so as well. So there's definitely a lot that they could improve with this game, but I think it was a missed opportunity there because I think VR Karts, the one we played originally on the Oculus Go.
Oh, yeah.
Or did we play it? No, actually, we played it on the Vive. I played it on the Vive with you. I remember we played it together. But I think that is probably the best kart racer still to this day, and that's a very old game now.
There is one single player alternative that I've seen, so it's not cartoony, but that's called Race Room, and it looks very enticing. It's like it's a proper, adult person's like kart racer. Like this is like serious sim. Like there are actual racers who race, go-karts in real life, and it's like that now. Racing just AI, always for me as a race head, has never felt satisfying. It's got to be humans. I don't want to race AI ever. It just doesn't do it for me. I know there's a lot of console racers out there who really enjoy racing AI, but it has to be humans, otherwise
that's
my brain doesn't buy it.
simulation wise, right? Because I like in Mario Kart I don't mind AI, but in simulations I understand that must feel realistic, so you don't want to drive against AI.
No, so for me, even things like Wipeout, F-Zero, Mario Kart, I'm just not a fan of AI racing because they're too predictable. They're too it's like you can look at each character as like an algorithm, and when everyone behaves the same and there's not enough difference in the field, it doesn't feel genuine, and that's why I don't like it. But this one is interesting, Mike, because I've been looking at it from afar, kind of going with the cocked eye, kind of like, I'm not sure. But the fact that you mentioned the sound, that's incredibly important in racing games. It's one of the things that Dirt Rally does really well. And just to mention, I saw that either it's a free weekend for Dirt Rally or they're giving the game away free on Steam. But the original Dirt Rally game nails sound in terms of grip, feel, traction, all that stuff. So,
yeah. And also another thing I want to mention is the power-ups didn't feel as satisfying. Like I remember playing VR Karts, and I still remember it now, even though it was like a year and a half ago. Nathie threw a beehive on my head, and I was being attacked by bees, and I could only see through this tiny little hole in the beehive. It was hilarious. But they just didn't have any fun power-ups like that. They're all kind of very generic. So, yeah, I think it's just a missed opportunity there.
Well, if you are a real daredevil, you could also go for Dolphin VR and then play some Mario Dash or other race games. But that's for the diehards.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what me and Zim played. So let's chuck it over to Rowdy then. See what you've been up to, dude.
Yeah, in contrast to Mike and Zim, I didn't play with my own nuts. I had groupies that played with my nuts, so it was quite all right. Yeah, no, I played Hotel R&R. Overall, I went in with very little expectations. I thought this is just going to be one of those smash 'em up games, but I was surprised actually by the amount of content that was just in the game. I only played the first level, but I had a ton of fun just messing around. The voice acting and the jokes are very mature and very funny as well. I really laughed a couple of times when the cleaning lady comes by and she rings your doorbell and she goes this is this exotic dancer that you ordered. I just cracked myself up. I was oh, this is so funny. Also there's a lot of Satan himself. He's on the phone when you enter. And you're gonna get a contract with him, but before you get on the phone, he's yes, no, I know Donnie, and I'm ooh, okay, it's getting a bit political here. It was really, really well done, just very funny, nothing too serious, but just very, very well done. The audio and voice acting was really cool, and then the mini games that are in there are just plain hilarious. You had this exercise for demons. I posted a clip of that on my Twitter as well, where I tried it out. You look like an absolute fool when you try it, but it's so fun to just mess around with that kind of stuff. So you can actually go to Purgatory, and Purgatory is this game hall where you have different kind of games that you can try. You can buy a movie ticket or something. I don't yet know, or an entrance ticket. I don't really know what it is yet. I haven't tried that yet. But overall, I was surprised by just the general quality of the title.
Yeah, I tried it like very, very briefly, and like you, I thought it was just going to be a smash 'em up. But I think there is actually more depth to this game than we give it credit for. Like, it's actually more puzzle. It's almost like a puzzle game disguised as a smash 'em up game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There is more to it.
True.
Yeah.
Is there a spine? Is there like a? You mentioned some key characters like Satan. Is there a story line?
Yeah, well, the storyline. Well, basically, it starts with you performing on a gig. So you're there, you have your guitar in your hands, but you're so bad that people are already booing you out before you actually start playing. They start like throwing beer bottles, this and that, and you eventually like you give up. You know, you smash everything down, and then you go to Satan. You make a deal with the devil, and he says, "Oh, I've made deals with Paige, and I've made deals with like all these like famous rock stars. So if you want, you want to be a famous musician, but your music sucks, but I can help you. And then you just need to sign this paper. So you sign that paper. It's like, oh, like it says in Clause 253B, I now own your soul. And then all you need to go and do in order to please Satan is go and perform your gigs. You don't do the gigs, but you need to perform them. You go to hotel rooms and you need to smash them up because the devil wants you to do it.
Wow, awesome.
It's hilarious in a way
so
too.
So who made this game again? Who developed this?
I forgot. It's Wolf and... Wait, let me look it up.
Did they make anything before?
I don't know if they made anything before yet. It is from Wolf and Wood Interactive. And if I looked... they're the developers from The Exorcist Legion.
Oh.
It's a very different kind of game.
Okay.
And also a chair in a room. I don't know if you guys remember that one.
Chair in a room, devs. Jesus, that's a different...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Very cool.
Wow.
Very cool. The first game that's taken you out of the Pavlov.
Yes.
No, I still play Pavlov, but I've been having some.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
Nice. So, what about you then, Nathie? What have you played this week? What do you want to? What's your highlight?
So I haven't really played that much. I pretty much only played Half Plus Half, this new title that dropped on the Oculus store, and. It catch my eye because I got a notification on my phone where I see when Oculus uploads a new video on their channel, and it was this mysterious video, and I had no idea what it was really all about. I did recognize the characters in this game because they have used them before for some kind of experiment where they were figuring out how to use a keyboard in VR, but that was more like a test phase, and now. This experience came out called Half Plus Half. It's a very strange and interesting name. I still wonder why it's called like that. So basically what this is, it's like, I would compare it to Oculus Rooms where you can come into a space together and then you have a couple of, let's say, mini games that you can enjoy together around, I think 6 at this moment. I do feel like they're going to add more. And it's just it exists to bring people together through socializing, through connecting, through being creative, open, etc. And this can be with strangers, with friends. That's up to you. It is a pure multiplayer. I would say that if you are interested in something like this, then you need to keep in mind that you will not find many people playing this, and I think the longer this is out, the harder it will become. So this is something you have to dedicate to by asking your friends and say, like, listen, does anyone want to play this with me? Because otherwise, I don't think it's going to be that fun. Alone, it's not great. But the way I'm explaining this sounds super scripted.
Maybe that's
but I don't want to. Huh?
The half and half, because I mean, half plus half is like a coffee, right? It's like half milk, half coffee. So you never go and drink a coffee by yourself. So
that's
okay. Kind of grab a half and half.
That could plus like it's almost like you need the other half to enjoy this title as well. But I jumped in with Mike and also Gamertag, and we went swimming in the ocean. We tried to eat fish, catch them. Things like that. Hide and seek was, I think, the most outstanding mini game that this title had to offer. So in this lobby you are spawning into, you have a few portals, and every portal is a mini game. So swimming in the ocean is one mini game, and then hide and seek is another one. But in hide and seek, they were playing with scale. So the person that had to find the others was extremely big, like a giant, and the others were super like tiny, and even the voices changed too. So you heard like these little squeaky voices running for their lives, and then you had to find each other and put each other in jail, basically. That's what happened.
We got a comment from the chat, and I kind of agree with that as well. It's Dave the Psycho. He's saying it's kind of risky to put a social game not for free at this point on the store, in my opinion, since there are already like quite a few to choose from that have been around there for a while that are free.
Yeah.
You think that this one is still like?
No, of course. Of course, it's a risk, but you gotta like if no one does it anymore, then it's never gonna kick off. So I totally get it. I totally get it. And what I wanted to suggest to the developers is that right now it's on Rift and Quest, so it's cross-platform. But if they're smart, and I don't know how this contract is going with Facebook, but it would have been smarter if they had PlayStation 2, all the platforms. Like that's usually saves the multiplayer a little more. But right now you're already in this niche market, and then you only have Rift and Quest. I don't know. I feel like if you're going to play this in like a month or two, you're not going to find anyone. That's just a fact. But if you can dedicate to play this with friends, I think it's awesome. It's magical. It's wonderful. But yeah.
I really enjoyed it as well. But I just checked out the price, and it's $10.99 in British pounds for the game. So I think this is a problem here, because bearing in mind you can't really play this on your own, you need to play it with friends. Yeah. So you need to spend £10 each. And as much as I enjoyed it, and I really, really did enjoy it, I would never see myself playing it again. It was kind of one-off experiences. I will never forget that experience. That's how good it was. But I wouldn't be playing it again, and I think that's the problem. So they should have either had one person buy the game for $10.99 and have free passes to give to friends.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Or just price the game at like £1 or £2 as a throwaway kind of experience, because that's essentially what it is, even though it is.
It's hard to price these kinds of things, because in the end, as you said, you will not forget. So you kind of pay for a memory too. It's like when you go to a theme park, and we had fun there. It could be quite expensive. We went to Disneyland. We paid so much money that it's just like you're almost crazy to do that. And with this, it's kind of like you're also paying for the experience. But I understand. Yeah, it's just hard. Like multiplayer is struggling. And after playing this, I'm like, wow, this is what I want. There is no Oculus rooms on Quest. This is something that fills up the gap. If you want to meet some friends, just chill, have fun, then this is there. There is nothing else right now that will, of course you have VR chat and Rec Room, but this is like something that is not crazy in any way. It's like super relaxing. It's something I haven't played before. It's a fresh breath of air on the platform for sure.
I think half. I played it earlier today actually, and unlike you guys, I wasn't even sure that there was a friend system. I thought it was like Journey or one of these games where you plug in and it's only avatars with the name and no real voice coming through. That's what I experienced.
That's what I thought too the first time I jumped in.
So I joined other players, 4, 5 maybe players. I did the hide and seek. I did the one where you were sailing and stuff like that. Like you, I thought it was a magical experience. Like the graphical introduction to the game, like when you first get into it, it's like beautiful. But like what Mike's saying, the base price for the game to me feels high for what you get. But I do think that if you're on your own and you want to connect with this, and again, this is going to be the same thing we've said on previous podcasts 6 months ago, and that is do it now, ride the wave, right? Like don't wait 2 months and then jump into it. Like Nathie said, I would expect this to be a bit of a graveyard as well, maybe resurged if they launched another platform, in X number of months time, but don't expect to buy this for 11 quid now and then have people playing it 2 months from now. you know.
What they could also use is maybe the event system on Oculus, where you can announce like, listen, this is when we all come together, and then you can play some mini games.
How did you join each other? Actually, that was my main question. Like, was it just the Oculus Friends grouping, and then you joined the game?
Yeah, and the other thing that's worth highlighting to give props to the developers is that Nathie was on Quest and I was on Rift, and I had no idea that he was on Quest because the voice sounded great and his performance was totally great as well. So that was pretty impressive.
Did you have proper voice? Impressive. Could you actually hear his voice, or was it just a?
No, people are doing that themselves, because today I dove in again, and some people don't want to socialize and then they make funny sounds. That's just a thing that happens. If you ever played VR chat, how many times do you run into a T-Rex making T-Rex sounds? Some people are kind of. Well, I get it.
I think it's baked. I think it's baked into the game. You know when you put your hand in your mouth, it does that little X symbol? I think...
Yeah, but that doesn't make that... Because I watched your stream, but this was an actual person making that sound.
But there were two people who made like the same noise. That's why I'm confused.
Yeah, but it's... each other like in VR chat, they just follow it.
Feckers.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
That game is half and half if you missed it, but it's available on Quest and Rift. Good experience, but I think it's a bit pricey for what it is.
Yeah, true.
What about the chat? Did they play anything interesting? Have they been playing along as we've been chatting?
I've seen No Man's Sky post a lot.
Lots of No Man's Sky in there.
Yeah.
So glad a lot of people are still enjoying that game, and I'm very jealous of you all because it's kind of that season. You know, like there's other stuff going on as well. A lot of like pancake games coming out. You know, and it's not a shameful thing to say, but I enjoy pancake games as well. So I'm trying to play those, trying to play VR, trying to do other stuff at the same time, planning for California in like 2 weeks' time. So I'm very jealous that you all get to spend so much time in No Man's Sky. Yeah.
I'm pissed. My wife sits downstairs for like 5 hours a day playing with my daughter in No Man's Sky. She's got the most cool like tech and bass and all this stuff, and I'm like, damn it, woman, I just want to play more, but I can't.
Yeah. So. Also, like, I think today, like, there's, as Mike said, there's so much going on. Like, you can, for example, play Call of Duty right now for free on PlayStation. You can, I think, since today, also play Borderlands 3. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's like you really got to juggle with Pancake and VR.
Gears of War 5 has been fantastic as well.
Also, yeah. Control came out. Yeah, we can go on forever.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's jump into the news then. And the first bit of news this week is about this new action-packed racing game that I mentioned at the beginning, which is coming soon from Swiss VR developers Owsy Games, and they're working in collaboration with Oculus Studios. The new game is called Death Lap, and in this game you have to drive and shoot at the same time in a frantic race of life and death. So these races, they're hosted by this kind of insane game show host called Nitro Saint Pain. Awesome name, by the way. He's a retired racer with a painful past. And he basically hosts these races. And if you kind of think in your mind of like Mad Max style racing cars mixed with like kind of an 80s movie like The Running Man, for example, where it's kind of like a game show.
And Carmageddon.
Yeah, and Carmageddon. And throw that into the mix, you're kind of getting a good mental picture of what this game is like. This game is going to be able to be played in third person, which I thought was quite surprising, along with first person, obviously. Single player and multiplayer modes, of course. And apparently the game's going to launch with 5 tracks, 5 different cars. Each of the cars are kind of unique as well, in that they're kind of equipped with, each car is equipped with a long range weapon, a close range weapon, and a special weapon. Each special weapon is unique to each car. So you can kind of use those cars and mechanics to sort of work your strategy for the race.
Sounds tasty.
So this can be played online and offline?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. We don't have a release window just yet. We just know that it's coming soon to both Rift and Quest. So that's kind of interesting that it's on both platforms. Cross-platform play is likely as well. So this is just one that's coming out soon, one to keep an eye out for. Maybe we'll get to play this at OC6, maybe.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I think what jumps out at me is that they probably used a similar motion tracking mechanism to that D-Day title on PSVR, where you could drive a Jeep and shoot out the side at the same time. So it's quite a simplified driving mechanism, but it worked really well, and it makes you feel quite badass. So mixing that with multiplayer sounds good. I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this one. It kind of, when I watched the trailer, of him shooting out of the window and then like the flames coming out of like the car's hood and stuff, it reminded me of this TV show I've been watching on Netflix. I think it's called Overdrive. It's like Fast and Furious meets Ninja Warrior. Like Fast and Furious cars have to like navigate around this like Ninja Warrior track. It's crazy.
So it actually reminds me of Hover Junkers, one of the earlier games where again you were piloting your junker or whatever, and you had to put up walls and shoot. That game was awesome at the beginning in the early days before people got good at it, and then
the trailer was so short though. Like
very short.
15 seconds or something.
Yes. Yeah, just use your imagination for now.
It's a teaser.
Yeah. So that is Deathlap coming soon to Rift and Quest. Next up is another bit of interesting news this week, is that in the latest Oculus public test channel release for Oculus Rift, they've started to implement OpenXR. Now, what is OpenXR? I can hear you all screaming. Well, in basic terms, prior to OpenXR, a developer would make a game using like Unity or the Unreal Engine, for example, and develop it for a specific headset, say like the Vive. And then later they'd want to port that game to maybe bring it to the Quest. And the problem is they would have to, focus their development initially for the Vive and then obviously port the game later to Quest, which takes a lot of extra work and effort. What OpenXR aims to do is simplify that workflow. So everyone's kind of signed up for this, Oculus, Valve, HTC, Microsoft, Nvidia, all the big players, Google, they're all on board with this initiative. And now we're sort of starting to see it appear in support. So like I said, this has appeared this week in the latest public test channel release on Oculus. Apparently it's been implemented with Windows Mixed Reality for quite some time now, but this is the first time we've seen it on the Oculus platform. And I tweeted about it. I tweeted about it this week, and I think I was kind of jumping the gun a little bit. I got a bit overexcited. I was thinking that maybe that this would open up the Oculus platform to other headsets.
Oh God, that would be something. That would be something, right?
Yeah, that was my interpretation of it, and I think I just got a little bit overexcited there, jumped the gun a little bit. So I ended up deleting it later.
But that sounds like music to my ears. I would love to see that. I totally support that.
Yeah, and I know, if you read The History of the Future by Blake J. Harris, you'll understand that was part of Oculus's original plan, to open it up to use the Vive as well. But they ended up going against that. But yeah, so that's not what this is. It doesn't mean, if you saw my tweet, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to play Oculus titles natively with other headsets, although Revive does exist for that very reason. But the cool thing is that, for developers, it's just going to streamline everything for them. So it means that if they're developing a game for one system, it could be released on all systems. But of course, it's depending on the politics involved with those platforms, whether they're going to...
So that means it takes less time and takes less money to make a game.
Absolutely. So developers of VR titles should be super happy about this. And it just smooths the road for them. Because, as we know...
right direction, I think.
Yeah, because if you think about it, it's even difficult for us to talk about it once a week. All these different headsets coming out, all these different control methods. As a VR developer, I can't even imagine what it must be like for them, developing a game for Quest, for Rift, for Vive, for Index, for Cosmos, for PSVR.
MR platform.
Maintaining teams with that skill set and capability, in the back. Yeah.
It must be insane. So they must be jumping for joy at this OpenXR is finally sort of becoming the norm. So hopefully it just smooths the road, and hopefully we'll see a lot more titles on
both platforms.
Yeah. So that's some news about OpenXR. So let's move on to this. This is brilliant. So this is Five Nights at Freddy's coming to augmented reality. So when I first heard about this, I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I saw the trailer. The trailer is very well done, but it's a bit misleading, and I'll get more onto that in a bit. But this was unveiled by an AR company called Illumix this week, and this is their first ever AR game, and they're an AR game development company based in Silicon Valley, actually on Menlo Park, alongside like Facebook and all the big tech giants. And their first game they're going to launch as an AR game is Five Nights at Freddy's Special Delivery. So this is being developed by Illumix in collaboration with the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's called Scott Cawthorne. And like I said, the trailer just looks genuinely terrifying.
It's the kind of stuff that you will like tell your kid, like, if you don't go to sleep, then we're gonna play Five Nights at Freddy's.
Wow.
You made such a valid point. It's like, as kids, you're always scared that there's something under your bed or in the
please.
And they just use this to their strength, and they basically put those stereotypes in this AR game. So when you look inside your closet or you open your front door of your house, there is Freddy Fazbear there waiting to tear your face. So this is nuts. But this is where things go on a bit of a downer, because this is for mobile devices.
So it's a window.
Yeah. So this is for iOS and Android, coming this fall. So this is why I said that the trailer's a bit misleading, because the trailer kind of insinuates that the person that's got this first person view in the trailer is wearing like an AR headset, which clearly they're not, because one doesn't exist that is capable of that right now. So that's a bit misleading. However, the company itself that are developing this, Illumix, are an interesting company. Like I said, this is their first ever game that they're releasing. They're based in Silicon Valley, and they recently raised $8.6 million in funding, which is kind of interesting. And what their unique selling point is that they're saying that their particular AR technology is more intelligent and spatially aware when it comes to mixing real world and artificial objects. So they're saying, like the occlusion between virtual items and real life items should work seamlessly.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, magic.
We've heard these claims before, of course. We've seen whales jumping in school sort of basketball courts, which hasn't happened yet. So yeah, take this with a pinch of salt, but I think it is cool that, Five Nights at Freddy's is come to VR, which was amazing. And now that it's coming to AR, it could be equally as cool.
Well, maybe we should call John Carmack and send him out there to check if this is worth the hype.
But they must literally work next door to him. So, you could just pop across the corridor and say hi and check
I'm
it
sure
out.
he's down. I'm sure he's down.
I'm sure he is. Yeah, I'm sure he is.
I'm thinking, though, that like this is portable. Whatever technology they make, and they make it for mobile or whatever, just put that. I mean, the Quest is basically a mobile in a headset. So just put it on a Quest, and you've got a fucking scary-ass game that's going to do this pass-through AR stuff, which is probably something that Oculus is going to talk about at OC6. So just that's my spin on it. I think that's what you were hinting at anyway, Mike. But
as long as no one dies, I'm sure they're going to talk about it.
As no one dies. If someone dies, then this app is going to sell like loads.
Yeah.
Don't you know how the world works?
Would you guys be down to play this then?
Hell yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
As long as I can't wear something, then I don't feel like it's immersive enough.
No,
you know what I mean?
The thing with me is like, I think AR is cool. There's definitely like a lot of future in that, but for gaming, I still like to be immersed in like a full game world rather than like my bedroom or like something like that. For me, it's like still like going somewhere else that makes it really cool. Although I think AR is really, really sweet, and with everything that they'll do with it, I mean, it looks amazing, and I think there's a lot of stuff that will still get developed. But at this point in time, I'd say I prefer virtual reality. Yeah,
because that's virtual reality is consumer and AR isn't, so that makes total sense.
But this is also consumer. If they can make Five Nights at Freddy's,
but AR wearable something else than AR through an iPad.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm sure this app will sell well because
Five Nights at Freddy's, right? I'm so surprised that this still lives on. This thing that this guy made. It's like, how long has it been? I don't know, like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years that this Five Nights at Freddy's, like the first game came out.
It's we got a very similar story. I don't know, Mike, if you're going to cover this as well, but Dreadhalls is also coming.
Okay,
to Quest. And that's another very simple formulaic title that was successful originally, DK1, DK2 days, that now, they just keep popping it up again. The game itself hasn't actually changed. There's no new monsters, new mechanics, no tweaks or whatever, but it's just getting bought up. And the thing is, it's very simple, right? You got a cousin. You want to scare them. What are you going to buy to do that, right? I mean, and that's it. Five Nights at Freddy's is great, as Rowdy said.
Having like these Acron mechanics in Dread Halls where you can control a monster and kind of chase someone down.
We used to beg for that in Twitch because Twitch integration is possible, and then like if you could get viewership, controlling those elements, then that's truly terrifying. Putting power in those people's hands is never a good idea. But Mike, to clarify my statement there, I'm actually not interested in a horror AR game for one reason. You can't be in the bloody dark. Right? Your AR functionality is not going to work very well when the lights are out. So
infrared.
What?
Infrared.
I don't think my camera's infrared.
Haven't you?
If you're saying AR won't work if you have those pass through, then you can make them work with infrared lights. I have my camera's infrared.
No. So sorry. What I'm saying is the game as it's designed to come out on mobile phones is not really interesting to me. The game, once they lose in that sphere and decide to finally port this to like Quest and or future AR headsets, then it's interesting to me.
Yeah. And this is the thing, like I was looking online and there were videos of people just talking about this trailer release and this game, like this AR game, that was getting like 300, 400,000 views in like a day. And it's like, kids are nuts for Five Nights at Freddy's. It's like, it's just one of these things. So I'm sure the app will do well regardless of whether it, comes out on a fully fledged AR headset or just on a mobile. However, I think we all agree that we'd want to play this on a fully fledged AR headset. And this kind of leads me on nicely to our next bit of news. From Apple. Well, not from Apple, but from someone that's been digging around in the new Apple iOS. So if you're an Apple fan, you probably watched, like the Apple keynote this week. They unveiled some new iPhones, iPads, some other bits and pieces, but also coincides with the release of iOS 13. Now, someone digging around in iOS 13 has found an internal Apple README file for how Apple employees can enable stereo AR apps on an iPhone for testing when you don't have access to Apple's AR headset. So this is pretty exciting because this is like the first time in a long time we've had like a real credible kind of leak of information. Of course, nothing of the AR headset or nothing mentioned of AR at all in this latest Apple keynote. But there's been rumblings, of course, of Apple working on an AR headset for like ages now. Yeah. So this README file, it refers to a device referred to as STAR or HME. So in the VR world, we refer to them as HMDs, like head-mounted displays. So HME kind of got me thinking, like, is this head-mounted eyewear?
Yeah.
Is it head-mounted experience? Not quite sure.
No, you dinged it. That's definitely eyewear. Definitely eyewear.
Wait. Why are we so surprised? Or like, I mean, first off, I don't think this is really a credible source because I think it makes sense for a company the size of Apple that they're working on head-mounted displays, be it AR or VR. If you look at what Google is doing, what Samsung is doing, Sony, any company almost that is making some kind of displays, at least experimenting with either VR or AR or both. So I think it makes sense that Apple is doing the same thing. I don't see this as like a credible source that they're making an AR headset, but I do think this is a credible source for like that they're experimenting with AR, which makes sense.
They're definitely working on something in the AR space for sure. But yeah, it refers to this Apple Star or Apple HME. And they're saying that if you want to test an AR game out, you can test it out on an iPhone by using these settings, which are listed in the README file. And it also provides instructions in there for setting the HME state. So, apparently the state mode will be like, say, if you put it on your face, like a bit like a Quest, it automatically wakes up with proximity detection. And they're saying that you can use that state in the iPhone to test the app and also apply the correct stereo distortions to the application for testing as well. So it would suggest that it's a stereo AR device. So it's kind of interesting, I think, but like Rowdy said, it could just be that they're just testing something internally. But what do you think of the name Apple Star? I thought that was kind of like a nice name. I think I would be down with that.
Not in line with their. It's not in line with their current products, and I think it's an internal code name. I don't think
it's like what the Flippo size said. Yeah, sure. And then you need $1,000 cloth, an eye cloth to clean them.
Honestly, if we're thinking prices, think about it. Apple released an AR headset. What's your guess for price? I mean, I'll bet you it's going to be $1,999 or something. It's going to be something heavy, but they're going to bring something awesome.
That's the thing. Like with Apple, you can trust them to when they make something friggin' awesome. Although Rowdy's probably
they haven't been doing that for a while though. I mean, like Samsung has kind of like took the spot for being innovative in like the scene that they're working in, right? I mean, the last keynote was really disappointing in terms of what they announced in terms of technology.
No.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. In terms of like, there was very little innovation, more sort of like iterative, jumps, like steps forward.
Iterative catch up with the competition.
Mike, why are you working together with the enemy right now?
Like normally, I'm pretty hyped to be buying.
Rowdy is a spy. Don't realize this.
This time every year, but this year I'm like, there's nothing really that interests me. I'm quite.
But imagine though, if you could combine that AR headset with your phone and with your watch, where you can have like this Obi-Wan moment where it's like, hey, what's up, Obi-Wan? How are you doing? Things like that would be nice.
I would say it's highly likely that whatever Apple is making will work with your iPhone. I don't think it will be a standalone device.
Of course, and it needs to fit in their ecosystem as well. I mean, they're gonna make something that works in their own ecosystem.
I think Nathie's spot on with the watch integration as well. Just think about it. If you're standing on the street, right, wearing your $2,000 glasses, right, you pull out your, I happen to have one here. Pull out your Apple Watch, right? And a little arrow points you in the direction of the coffee shop you're trying to navigate to. Like, I mean, that Obi-Wan moment, I think you're spot on with that thought. I think that's exactly what they're going to go for, and I think it's going to make it very useful.
That's not hard to do at all, because you can just display like a QR code.
Exactly.
And the Apple glasses can read that. Like it's.
Yep.
I'm just wondering how drunk Zim has to be to not know how to get to his local coffee shop.
I don't drink coffee, so pretty drunk. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. I do like the name that the video that we're playing now is a rendering, by the way.
It's fake.
It's completely fake. Yeah. It's created by Concept's iPhone. So credit for them for the video.
But I do like wouldn't work like that. Like if you would have like such a small little thing in front of you.
Exactly, yeah. But I do like their name, Apple Lens. I think that's a cool name for the product.
The iLens.
Let us know in the chat what name you would give.
Yeah, I really like
upcoming.
I really like the one that Nim Sony actually introduced. It was the II.
II.
No way they're doing that though. That's too piratey. Even the Apple Eye or
Apple glasses.
The II.
Yeah. It could be as simple as Apple eyewear.
Yeah.
No, don't think they'd go for that.
Apple Watch. Yeah.
Google Glass, Apple Glass.
But this kind of brings me back to Five Nights at Freddy's. If we had something like this, then it would make it way better. I think.
When do you guys see this being brought up on the market then?
Next year.
Next year?
Next year when? Next year when?
Next
Q3.
Yeah, sure.
So it'll be announced during the keynote next September?
No, I'm saying that I think they'll have a product on the market in AR next year, 2020, because they said that about 3 years ago. What was it? The AT 2020 they were planning to launch. So I think they're going to have an AR product. I also think that there will be AR capability that Oculus is going to announce at OC6 to catch up with that, because these companies do talk, and again,
catch up.
If you're in Silicon Valley, because if you think about R&D and Apple's R&D, they're running 1,000 miles a minute. Well, back when Jobs was around. And other companies that they'll be getting there. I mean, I don't know if Samsung's going to have anything, but I really still think that next year there'll be something like AR consumer grade technology out.
Yeah, and we've mentioned this on the show before, and it's a really good point that Oculus teased AR in their Oculus Connect event this year, which they have never done really before. No. And like we mentioned on a previous show, our kind of general thought was that it would be AR utilizing the Rift S and Quest pass-through modes, because that is essentially AR. You know, when you see the overlay on your controllers when they're on the floor, when you pick them up, that is AR. So if they can clean up the video feed a little bit and overlay some nice AR elements, then they're on.
But we're like Zim just said, like next year. But are we talking about like wearable AR, or are we talking about VR headset AR? Because that's like a total different ball game we're talking about.
Yeah, my pitch is
the first
Google
product
Glass
that they bring on the market.
They haven't touched the market yet. Consumer AR.
It would be amazing if they came out the gates with something like that. You know, especially because Magic Leap and Stalin have been working on this. In public space. This is what we're working on. This is what we're aiming at. HoloLens ain't the business right now. So it would be amazing if Apple just said, "Look, we've nailed it. Here you go, bang, done." But we'll have to wait and see. All speculation right now. But that is all the news.
Speculation.
That's all the news.
We're
this
talking
week.
about this for like more than a year now.
I know. Gets me hyped every time.
Sick of it.
Let's hand it over to Zim to find out what games we should be playing next week in the releases.
Oh, I'm excited this week now. I'm excited to show a game. So the first one up, this was, I don't usually get to call out like YouTube channels and that I love, but Life of Boris is definitely one that I appreciate. And he gave this game, the 2D version of it, it's being VRified now, 7 out of 7 blinds. And so this is called Calm Down Stalin, which has been VRified, and so there's an independent Stalin app. This is a weird one. Launched last week, 12th of September, for PC VR, so you can get on Steam. And this is a game where you're in a Cold War standoff. If no one's familiar with the core game, so you need to threaten your enemies with nuclear weapons by moving your finger closer to the Doomsday button. Right. Well, at the same time, you're answering the phone call and signing off like sheets because you're Stalin. You're head of a department. You need to get this stuff done. You can smoke your cigar, look at pictures of pretty Russian ladies, but don't get distracted from the fact that the world is about to end. And so this is something that I thought, through the vodka he's pouring and the cigars the guy's smoking, he's just sat at this desk. Obviously it's not a calm place to be. And Stalin, you get to be in the seat as Stalin, trying to hold off the world for as long as he can. And I think it's a score-based game, but I don't know. It's a bit of a silly one. It's not too expensive, by the way. If you have the 2D version, you have to buy this separately. It's £6.47, so about $6.50 in pounds. So I guess that's about $7.50 in dollars. Would you like to be Stalin?
Who developed this game?
This is from Cardboard Games.
Cardboard Games.
I think this sounds way too realistic for my liking. But I have to say, it kind of gave me what was it, Papers, Please vibes.
Yeah.
When you started on it. I love that game. So if they made a VR version, I'd be down.
I think there's also this one VR title where you can do the same in the White House, and you also need to like pick up phone calls and press buttons and mess around and yeah.
What's the one? There's a VR game as well that I think Rowdy, you've played it, called I don't remember what it's called. It's Border Patrol something VR.
Oh,
Frisky?
yeah.
TSA Frisky, is it?
Frisky, yeah.
TSA
Frisky.
Yeah. So there's another option.
Like that.
You like that one, right?
That was a cool one, but I actually don't know if it got fully developed because the one that I tried was a demo and they completely rehauled that.
Yeah, it was called Border Patrol. Yeah, the one with the robots.
Yeah.
Did it disappear into the early access void, as many games do?
I think so.
I don't think it's been released yet, but that was a good game. That was essentially yeah.
So wait, TSA Frisky and Border Patrol are the same game?
No, different games.
Different games.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay, next one is a game that I'm a big fan of. It's called Poker VR, now coming to Quest. So this is really interesting because they've decided to rehaul their app. So this is Marco and Hamza. I'll give them a quick shout because being a big fan of their game for many years. A lot of people now just know PokerStars because they're this megalith corporation who've now kind of dominated the VR scene with They're very kind of college humor-esque game. But in contrast to that, Poker VR aims for more of a casino experience where you have independent tables. Yeah, you can, and I understand you can kind of walk between the tables. You can actually play with your individual chips, but it's pretty much it's more of a serious affair rather than this kind of play around, throw things at each other. So you're focused on the poker game, as they've always been. You're focused on thousands of players, hundreds or thousands of players in these VR tournaments that they have. And actually, what Nathie mentioned earlier is the events for Oculus Home, which I always found, particularly on Oculus Go when I was playing Poker VR, that was something that they did really well. So every kind of 2-3 hours, there's a game on, and people are lining up to play with their virtual chips, and that was always great social experience.
But poker, I think in this case, poker doesn't really even need events because it's a very addicting thing to do, and it's something that people come back to. So is it, or am I wrong here? Have you ever played a VR poker game and you're in there and there's like no one to even play with?
I have actually prior to the Gear VR support that was given that was developed by the same Poker VR team. It was when it was just on Rift and it was like DK2 era, and then the CV1 was just launching and they were just launching with that headset. Yeah, there were plenty of times when they definitely needed it, and even one of the co-CEO founders would host that, and so like part of his job was to go in, host a table, and people would gather around. So it made it, you got to know the kind of serious players, but there's a lot of really good poker players who play that game. So if you're looking to up your skills and have a more serious gentleman's type poker game, then that's the app for you.
I see one tip in the chat, or actually some lyrics. Can't read my no, you can't read my poker face. From who? Can someone guess? From who is this song?
Well, I already saw it, so.
That's Lady Gaga.
Yes. Yes.
I know that why, because I'm a big nerd, and Dance Central. Thank you, Harmonix. It's their starter song on, I think, the first game. So, all right, with that, 2 more. This app is awesome. This looks great. Okay, so there was a game a couple of years ago now called Giant Cop, which was all right. Had a good visual style to it. You were this big giant cop and you had to tend to the city. This is kind of the opposite of that. This is like the Benjamin Button in a way of that. It's a terrible analogy, but I'll start there. It's called Growilla VR. Growilla VR. So you start as a tiny gorilla and you have to eat things to grow. You can eat dogs, chickens, whatever, things around the place. You can't get caught by the cops though. That's the catch. So in Growilla, you need to scavenge your way around. It's kind of like a stealthy survival game. Now it's voxelized, so it's got a very kind of voxely look, but there's literally like GTA. Imagine the early GTAs, like GTA 3. The tanks, the star rating you'd get. Like, people are coming after you, so you have to take down the cops, go to the army base, like nuke the base, all this kind of stuff as this giant Growilla. And for £7, that's £7 UK. Looks interesting. It's an early access game.
Why are the characters so static? They're like they
it's early access. Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's early access. So yeah, the characters are a bit like bowling pins, and it is a score-based game. So at the end, you unlock some stuff, and you get whatever added to the game, and so you can play it again. But it's a score-based game, so I think it's a short burner. But I just saw it and I thought
it looks nice.
I just love the idea behind it. It's hilarious. There's a whole bunch of different maps. So.
But the real question is, can you call Lester when the police comes?
Can you call Lester?
Yeah, Lester.
Lester Burnham?
From GTA 5.
Oh, right. I never played it.
You're out of jail.
Shame on me.
Yeah. Wait for the VR part, then you can play it.
That's honestly, I was waiting for. I was waiting
Skyrim,
for.
Right? Like I played Skyrim, and then I played the VR first. It's like, okay, yeah, this is cool, but first then I was like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah, although I'm still waiting for Resident Evil 7 on PC. PC's never happened.
I still do think that Rockstar, given their dabble in it, I think they will do a VR project. I think they're a bit. They'd like to be slow and right-timed, and they're a bit like Valve in that they're not trying to push graphics or technology. They're trying to like hit that lovely middle ground of, I'm going to give you the best story you can get, the best vocals, but you're going to get it on like an absolutely stable like middle layer so that it runs on the most machines and they can sell gazillions of them. So.
Yeah.
Last last but not least, we've covered this already, but I thought I'd give you some visuals to it. So half-half, which I know you're calling half and half. I guess I never saw it. It is half plus half, so half and half. You can get a chance to see now the game that we were
I was like,
talking about a little bit earlier. Because if you haven't... Yeah, if you haven't seen it, I think it's a little difficult to just take in text, but I'll give it my best. So there's things you can do, like the hide and seek that we talked about was really awesome. I thought that the slingshot teleportation, when you're a small person and you pull a slingshot, this isn't just like you teleport me to that spot. You take a small version of your body, you pull it back in the slingshot, you let go, and you like fly out there. But what's showing on the video right now, this kind of open vertical doorway, reminded me a lot of Here They Lie on PSVR. It had a lot of this kind of the same kind of visuals, although that was a lot less. That was a lot more kind of trippy than this game. This is a bit more soft. But I have to say, if I was to call this anything, I would say that this is for people who wanted to be, for all their life, the wiggly waggly arm flailing tube man, because that is those characters in this game just make it. Mike's demonstrating for us. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. That's awesome. What you've done.
Now that I see the trailer, I think it's like heavily inspired by Hayao Miyazaki. Do you know him?
No.
Spirited Away.
Oh.
Howl's Castle.
Howling Castle. It's a bit like that. I think it's also, for me, the visual style is a lot like virtual reality.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of pastels. There's a lot of bright areas and all that.
Especially when I saw like the one character with like the eyes and like the
straight
dress.
arms.
Oh man, like talking.
That's very like Spirited Away.
Talking about Spirited Away, on Oculus Share they had these demos where you could actually go into like rooms that someone built from Spirited Away, so you could be like in the movie. Please, someone throw all those demos on the internet so we can revive them for newer headsets.
Oh yeah, the Spirited Away thing. I think those got taken down though, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So all that stuff, if I'm not mistaken, that was Nick Pittum from the Windlands team, or who works on Windlands now, who did a lot of those conversions. But then the studio contacted him; he had to take it all offline.
Oh.
I do have copies of all of that. I don't know if it would run on modern headsets, but I know I've got the software stack to run it on my DK2 anyway. So I've still got my little library there. Two little pieces of news before we finish up then for today's releases. So firstly, No Man's Sky players, if you're playing it on PSVR, and it's feckin' blurry, because you know it is, it's probably the blurriest game that I've played in PlayStation, unfortunately, it's getting an anti-blur fix, which is great. It's due to come out in about a week, which is fantastic.
They're gonna remove the extra blur they put on there, or
it was
that work?
Wow.
It was
Imagine.
It's a result of some anti-aliasing mechanism that's having that after effect. So they've found a way to tune. So they are tuning and rolling patches for PC, which is going to help PC improvement, which is great because they've spent some weeks now working on that and tuning it up. It's been, a month since it released. And now PSVR is getting this anti-blur fix, and that was confirmed just either yesterday or the day before. So I'm very happy about that news, because I think that for somebody who's working on low budget or whatever, again, my favorite title now, I hate to say it, I think the Skyrim has to take number 2 fiddle to No Man's Sky, because No Man's Sky glues together Subnautica and From Other Suns and just so many games. Even there's Skyrim-y stuff in there as well. It's an incredible piece of game.
So with this update, that means that you can stop wiping your like lenses all the time, hoping that it will get sharper.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if anyone remembers. Does anyone remember the Disc Doctor back in the day, where if you scratched a CD, you could take it out, and you had this thing that would apply a little bit of grit, and it would like take the plastic layer off your disc? God, that's going back a ways, but we don't have that. Think if you had that for a VR headset, would you?
Well, you could like back in the days, you could grab your lenses and then just turn them, pull them out, and put some new ones in.
Oh yeah, good point. They used to have replaceable lenses.
Yeah.
A lot of people nowadays, I've read on Reddit, are using Polywatch, which is a watch scratch sort of
film.
It's almost like a very abrasive like gel almost that you'd put on the lens, but you have to be very, very careful, because I've also read stories on Reddit of people completely messing up their lenses by making them really cloudy. So just be really careful with that one.
Yeah, okay. So before you go trying to repair your own stuff, the last thing I'll say is I saw a very interesting app from the Tested guys. So Adam Savage of Tested, who's a big builder of God, everything. The Nerf guns he's built, swords. I can't even name all the things this guy's created in his studio. He's got this fantastic stereo 3D VR arrangement. I haven't gotten a chance to try it, but from the comments, I mean, it's already at like 4.8 ranking on Oculus Store, and loads of people have tried it out and said that it's like one of the best 3D stereo apps that they have. It's free. You can just try it out. So there's 8 different videos, different kind of episodes showing different places. Also, not just Adam Savage. If for some reason you don't like that guy, there's other creators as well, other makers, I should call them.
Yeah, and besides that, you can also get a tour, I think, through the office itself. So there are some Easter eggs in there too. I checked it out. It's the quality is amazing. You do need to download every video, but it's fast. I do wonder why this had to be an app, because this could have also been, uploaded to YouTube, so everyone could enjoy it. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because they're using the Zcam K1 Pro, which is the same camera that Nathie and I got as part of the VR Creator Lab YouTube thing that we did. So yeah, it's an awesome camera. But of course, I think they probably went the reason why they went to use an app instead of uploading it to YouTube is that YouTube, even though it is like a natively 5K resolution file, they still kind of downscale it a little bit. So at least if you're downloading the raw files, although they'll be big, you'll get the better clarity through the app.
Makes sense. Well, that's it for us for releases this week. I hope that's enough to wet your whistle. Mike, what have we got in the major topics this week?
So the first one is the big one, of course, this week, and that is the HTC Vive Cosmos. We finally got the price, the features, and all the specs that we wanted. So I thought we'd just kind of go through them, touch on each one of the specs, and just kind of go through it together. If you've got any questions or you want to sort of say anything, just go ahead.
Got a question before we go in. Does it come with a glass turntable?
Sadly not. That's called a lazy Susan here in the UK. Those rotating turntable things.
Yeah, I thought that was an American term, actually.
Oh, is it an American term?
I think it's an American term. Lazy Susan is, I think that's an American term.
Yeah. Oh, I actually bought one, so I can replicate it in the office.
Susan or
a lazy Susan? Yeah.
Wait! I got to drill into this, Mike. Did you see that presentation? You went, I can see an application for one of my videos in this.
Yeah, I did. I thought that's a really good thing to do. No, I thought it was the worst marketing thing I've ever seen.
It's Mike going to review headsets now, where it constantly spins and he needs to, do his thing.
Easy content.
Yeah.
If it's good enough for HTC,
that's true. It is easy content. It is. Yeah.
So let's talk about the Cosmos then, because one of the first things I want to talk about is the head strap and the ergonomics, because it's got a halo head strap design, so similar to the Rift S and the PSVR. And it's got built-in headphones this time, which look identical to those that were on the original Vive Deluxe audio strap. So almost identical in terms of the way they look and their design. So I'm sure they're going to sound fairly same as well. So that is the head strap and the headphones. It does have manual IPD adjustment, which is great because I thought that was lacking on the Rift S. Obviously,
how far does it go?
We don't know the IPD range. However, if the IPD range of the Vive and Vive Pro was pretty decent. I think it was on par with what Rift offered. So, no.
No, for me the Vive Pro was worse than the Vive actually, and the IPDs are a little bit on the higher side. I think they extend more in the higher range than they do in the lower range. Don't quote me on that though, because I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, but it's got a manual IPD nevertheless, which is going to serve a wider audience than certainly what the Rift does, unless you've got the optimal IPD of like 64 millimeters. The other interesting thing is it's got a flip-up display, which I know like Windows MR headsets have tried to do before. Some have been successful, some not so much, because the problem with a flip-up display is that sometimes you can't get it to fit on your face correctly because you've got that resistance of the hinge there. So I'm kind of a bit skeptical about it, but I'm kind of interested in it as well because I am constantly resting headsets on my head while I'm messing around doing settings and stuff for recording. So if it works, it works. I'll be happy.
Especially with your new haircut.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a great comment here. I wonder how long it will take for someone to mod the Cosmos Halo onto a Rift S for built-in headphones and the flip-up option.
It's a very good point, and while we're on that point, before we move on, I don't know if you've noticed in the background here, but I've got a Vive deluxe audio strap there, which I'm planning to mod onto my Rift S next week. I was kind of inspired by Greg's VR, who posted some pictures of it on Twitter this week, of Rift S with a Vive Deluxe audio strap. I know it's a popular mod with the Quest, but I've not seen many people do it with the Rift S other than Greg's VR, so I'm intrigued to check that one out. So I'll let you know my thoughts on that next weekend. But let's get back into the specs. And this headset, the most interesting thing I think about it is that it's got a very high resolution. Well, I say very high, higher than Vive Pro and Index, in that it's got a 1440 by 1700 pixels per eye resolution. It's running an two LCD panels, which run at 90 hertz with 110 degrees field of view. So pretty standard in terms of field of view that we're used to at the moment. Obviously, the Index and the Pimax are pushing those field of views wider. In terms of resolution, although it is higher, it is only 100 pixels higher than the Vive Pro and the Index, so not a massive difference. But you got to remember, with the Index, it's spreading it out over a wider field of view. So with the Cosmos, you're getting them compacted, and it's running an LCD, which, as we know from the Rift S, you get the benefit of the RGB subpixel arrangement, meaning you get 3 subpixels for every pixel, which correlates to better clarity and reduced screen door effect. So that is the display. It uses a single display port and USB 3.0, but sadly, no virtual link. Like, what the heck is going on with this whole virtual link business? Like, it's really annoying me now. I rushed out, sold a kidney for an RTX 2080 Ti. Still, I'm yet to see a headset that I can connect to the thing.
Yeah, because Valve canceled theirs a while back, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. They canceled their adapter. So the CEO of NVIDIA, you owe me a kidney. Next.
If you get a box with a bloody kidney in it, I swear.
Can I have it back, please?
Yeah, I'll have it back. Sew it back in. So next is the controllers, and this is kind of interesting because this is a complete shift in design from HTC, because they're used to like the Vive ones, which they ship with the Vive and the Vive Pro. Now they've got these kind of like Oculus Touch looking controllers, and I'm pretty happy about that. But there's a couple of things that concern me. The fact that it uses 2 AA batteries concerns me, because they're going to be a little bit heavier, and they use light tracking. So the pattern on the ring of the controllers are used to track the controllers from the headset using the cameras. And we've seen this before with obviously Windows Mixed Reality headsets. The problem with that, though, is that those Windows Mixed Reality headsets like burnt through batteries so quickly. They burnt through a pair of AA batteries in 2 days of use. So that's the problem with light tracking. But if this is another way they've got around it and it's got better battery life, then I'm all down for it. But I'm just a little bit skeptical right now.
What is actually the consensus on like the accuracy of that kind of tracking? Because light can be so finicky in terms of like occlusion, in terms of like
cough, PlayStation, cough.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Although Oculus do use light tracking to a certain degree, although it's infrared, it's still essentially similar tech, although you just can't see it with your naked eye. So it'll be interesting to see, but I'm sure it'll have the same issues that both the Oculus Quest and Rift S have, in that if you have a controller right in the center of your back, it's not going to work. And if you're occluding a controller in front of another controller, it's not going to work. And we also are skeptical about if it will work in the dark or not. But again, these things we'll just have to wait and see. The key to this inside-out tracking is, though, and I think Oculus nailed it, is if that you do lose tracking, how quickly it's reintroduced again.
It's all software, though.
And are these are not infrared LEDs, or are they?
No.
So that's what I'm wondering. Why didn't they go for infrared? Because now you have different kind of frequencies that will course with that.
It could be patented by Oculus, maybe. I really don't know, because we haven't seen it in many other headsets.
Because the brightness will now be different if you, for example, turn your lights on and you play with those kind of controllers. The amount of light that will be coming off will be different.
Yeah, the range that you have to program to pick that up. Yeah. It's the same problem that the Quest has outdoors, because once you go outside a certain operating parameter, the cameras aren't strong enough to stave off, broad daylight at that temperature. So.
Yep. Yeah, you're exactly right. Another unique feature of the controllers is that they have a bumper button. So normally you have a trigger, like say on a traditional gamepad like this, I've got the Xbox One S controller here. You've got a trigger, and then above it you've got a bumper button. So the Cosmos controllers are going to have that bumper button, and you don't get that on the Index or the Oculus Touch controllers. So
that's a bumper or just a grip? Because I mean, the name. Are you talking about the name or
all three?
What it actually does?
No, so it's got a grip button as well.
Okay.
It's got grip, bumper, and trigger.
Exactly.
So how would that translate in a video game then, a VR game?
Well, this is the thing. No games use a bumper button right now. So why it's there,
okay.
we don't know.
I really don't get stuff like that. Like, I mean, we've been saying that for so long. You know, the more kind of controllers that are being developed, the harder it will be for games to, like, you know, implement all these kind of things. And then a company that has made controllers before is now making completely different controllers. I literally don't get that. I don't get that.
They are actually getting closer to the Touch ones than they did before, because with the Vive ones, that was a total different design.
But now if you develop for the Vive, you need to be developing for these controllers, and you need to develop for these controllers, and you need to develop for the Oculus Touch controllers.
Well, it's up to the developers. They can also not do it. Right now with the Valve Index controllers, almost no one does it. So you can also decide to not do it. But then,
that button is just optional. You know, like other than that button, it's got complete parity with Index and Oculus Touch, what they offer as well. Although with Index, you get the finger tracking.
It looks nice, though. I mean, the controllers do look nice. I'm glad they're moving away from the previous design, because it's fair to say that design isn't winning anymore.
No, it hasn't.
Soup ladle doesn't cut it.
For sure. Obviously, the headset, the other big unique thing about this headset is that it uses inside-out tracking. Where the Rift S has 5 tracking cameras, this headset has 6 tracking cameras, 4 on the front plate, 1 on either side. But the interesting thing is, and props to HTC for doing this, is that they're going to be adding an option for a faceplate mod that goes over the faceplate of the Cosmos to add lighthouse tracking support. So if you already owned a Vive and you're upgrading to the Cosmos, you can utilize inside-out tracking, no problem. But if you want to, you can also utilize the lighthouse tracking that you've got for maybe a superior experience. Well, it will be superior because you won't get those occlusions.
Is that there to kind of have people that are still using their Vives to now let them maybe upgrade but still have their current?
The thing is, although they're upgrading, they're paying a premium for that feature because it's not going to be included in the box, and it's an optional extra that isn't coming out until next year.
Okay. It's still cool, though. I mean, that modularization is a nice feature. You're paying for it through the design of the base headset, the compatibility with that. Yep. But it also allows them a path in future to do more beyond that, even.
I think if I think about this again, I think the main reason why they did this is because Vive has a big hand in arcades, and I think this is actually to kind of facilitate that. For the
problem with like modular designs is that giving people options is often not a good thing for such a niche headset, because people want either the best for the money or just the best. And if you get like modular designs, often they've tried that with phones so many times as well. It doesn't work for a luxury product, I think. Also, people in the chat, maybe we can comment on that real quick, are asking if they're actually touch sensitive, the controllers.
We don't know for sure. I would be surprised if they're not, because that is kind of the industry standard right now.
Capacitive, you mean? So like when I get my hands closer to it, it'll know I've gripped, without me having to do a grip button as a binary control,
Yeah, it's a really good point, though. But yeah, like it's a good point with the arcades, and I think you might be onto a winner there, Nathie, with that. But like the headset will ship with the traditional 6 tracking cameras, and then you can buy this modular upgrade separately if you want to as an extra. But you know, whether people will or not, I don't know. But it kind of is interesting. Like, will the controllers then be tracked by the base stations because they use light tracking? So still some questions we don't know for sure yet. But again, this isn't coming out until next year. This mod anyway. The Cosmos will also be compatible with the Vive wireless adapter, which we've tested and used before on the Vive Pro. Great piece of hardware. I thought it was a really cool bit of kit. The only reason why we don't use it anymore, I think Nathie has the same experience with me, and I think Rowdy does as well, is that it's quite CPU hungry. So especially if you're a content creator or VR streamer like us, then it can be very performance intensive on your PC. So you're better off just reverting to a cable if you want smooth gameplay.
But that would make it the next to, of course, the Vive and the Vive Pro, the only wireless PC VR headset on the market.
Other than the original Rift with the TP Cast, of course.
Oh yeah, the TP Cast, yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting that we haven't heard anything from them in terms of the Rift S. But again, maybe we'll hear something at OC6. Who knows?
I mean, I think like wireless is definitely becoming the future, but like for stability reasons, I think a lot of people still like just they have the cable, or like just having another. Like for myself, the main reason why I wouldn't go wireless is because then I have another thing I need to charge. It does add to the immersion, not gonna lie there, but it's not worth the constant hassle of like charging another thing, making sure it works, the extra load on processor, the drops in frames, the extra problems that you're getting because of technology. Although it is like, I think still the Vive wireless tracker is the best one that I've tried so far. It's still not enough to convince me to go full wireless.
Go full wireless, yeah.
So I have to say, like, if I wasn't doing this, content creation, I would have that as my permanent setup. Like,
exactly.
I would love it, and I would stand by it. But it's just one of those things. But it is going to be compatible with the Cosmos. However, like all things, you're going to need a special Cosmos adapter to work with the wireless adapter.
Otherwise, you will burn your head. Like this one guy did, right? Where he had like this mark on his head.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't use the right, adapter.
Wasn't that Mike? That's
right. Yeah.
Yeah. He invited me to go check out this shaky floor, which is like think about a dance floor but with sub packs laid all around the bottom of it. Actually, there wasn't something too different at. Remember we went to Vertigo, Rowdy? They had something similar. They had a tactile, responsive floor. We didn't get a chance to try it. They also had fans. Anyway, I'm digressing.
So yeah, that is the Vive wireless adapter compatible with the Cosmos. You can pre-order the Cosmos right now for $699 US, 699 British pounds, or 799 euros. You can order it through HTC, and they'll be shipping out on the 3rd of October. However,
wait, raise hands. Who pre-ordered?
I pre-ordered.
I knew Mike would have. No way.
So this is the thing. If you pre-order now, you get if you pre-order before the 2nd of October, you get a year's free subscription to Viveport Infinity. That's not why I pre-ordered though.
I was gonna say.
I pre-ordered because I'm just genuinely curious about this headset. Yeah. I don't want to disregard it completely without trying it. If I don't like it, I will send it back. It's as simple as that. So I think it's kind of like there's no risking involved.
We understand. You got to do your duty. Do this for science.
The science, exactly. So yeah, it should arrive just as we get back from OC6. So I'll be able to give you my hands-on impressions then. There's a couple of interesting things though that I want to mention before we move on, and that is obviously the big selling point initially of this headset was the mobile tethering that they teased at CES, and that hasn't been mentioned at all since then. And I think that's a real shame, because I think that was one of the main unique selling points really of this headset in terms of my eyes, that it was a hybrid headset that could be powered by PC and mobile, but that's just not the case right now.
Yeah, they have been smart about that in one way, because at CES they were teasing with that in their trailer and things like that, but after that they didn't really mention it anymore. If they would have continued doing that, then this whole hype would have built up so high that people expected to have that. And I feel like right now, based on the reactions, a lot of people didn't even think about it anymore. So it kind of saved them a little bit in that sense.
Based on what we know now, which headset would you recommend to people?
Out of everything on the market?
Yeah.
But it depends, right, on who you are, how much money you have in your wallet, things like that, right? If you have
a person that says, I want to go into virtual reality, what headset would you recommend with this on the market?
I would ask them a lot of questions.
Exactly.
If it's regardless of budget, even though it lacks content right now, I would say the Index is the one to go for. But if they're on a budget and they maybe don't have a super high-end machine, the Rift S is the obvious choice. Or if they don't have a PC at all, we just get the Quest.
Or if they have a PlayStation already, they only have to get a PSVR.
For me, it'd be simple. It'd be put money into upgrading your PC, get a Quest virtual desktop to the PC. I think that the tetherless gaming thing is amazing.
If we have all of that, where does the Vive Cosmos then fit in?
The bin.
Well, this is where it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a difficult time for HTC, because this is the question that a lot of people are going to be asking themselves. And without this unique selling point, it is just another VR headset.
On the other side, you can ask the same to the Valve Index right now. Where do you place the Valve Index at this moment? At this point of time?
VR. Because if you want high-end VR, the best on the market, you go for the Valve Index. But
I think you should place headsets. No. I think you should place headsets based on the content they offer and not the specs they have, because that's total nonsense at this moment. All the headsets you buy right now are all fine. All the headsets you dive into, you can have a fun experience in VR. If that's low end, medium, and high end, doesn't matter. But if there's no content on the store, then you have a headset for
then you need to get
reason.
the Oculus Quest, because then you can play everything.
Maybe.
But the thing is, right with the Valve Index, you know, it's a lot of money with no, and I understand it's got a back catalog of Steam VR titles. I understand that's not what you buy a Valve Index for. You buy it to utilize these fancy new controllers, and there isn't any content to take advantage of them right now, really, in my eyes.
And a lot of the content is not compatible with it either, because the controllers are not optimized.
Okay.
So yeah, the Cosmos sits in a very strange place in the market. Whether the the resolution of the headset, maybe the thing is, if you want a Rift S and you can't fit in that the fixed IPD range, maybe the Cosmos is your obvious choice. That's a clear.
Something to also consider once again is that the Rift S is not getting sold in Asia, so the Vive Cosmos has can just freely compete with itself.
Ergonomics for me is the only real selling point. You have a headset that is a little bit pricier than the competition, with similar specs, decent display. If you're going to do a lot of work in VR, like you're a developer who also games, then I think that flip-up display, that's the reason I'd buy it.
And let's be honest here, the Vive has always been more expensive than the Rift, but it didn't mean it did bad. It actually did.
Yeah, but there was a difference between that with the Rift and the Vive. The difference wasn't as big as it is now.
No.
And you didn't have the touch controllers then when you originally bought the Vive. That only came later on. Yeah. So after that point, like, Rift started catching up and became like the more dominant player even on Steam. So. Yeah.
But in arcades, I do feel like the Vive is dominating more.
But that's because they have a business contract.
Yeah, that's historic.
You have the Vive.
That's true. But that's why these prices can still exist, because B2B wise, it's doing fine.
But that's why I'm wondering, where does this Cosmos fit? Like, is it maybe more aimed at like a business kind of direction, or is it still like a consumer? Because I think that the price is just not right for consumer. Especially if you see what the options are on the market.
The Vive Pro is the B2B headset, even though it was marketed as a gaming headset, but the Cosmos is marketed as a gaming headset.
So I don't understand why they do this. I literally don't.
Yeah.
That comes down to marketing as well.
But also, you got to remember that Oculus probably make very little money on the headsets that they sell, whereas HTC have got to make money on it, I can imagine.
Yeah, so, but that's a problem for them. Like I don't have any funds into HTC. If HTC goes bankrupt or not, that's not something that will target me directly.
How do you compete with a competitor that doesn't need to make any money?
Like, you don't compete with that, because you can't. You need to find a different niche or a different kind of thing. It's like with the Valve Index, we're gonna focus on this specific niche of the market. Because
apparently,
make pink headsets. That's how you compete. Pink headsets. You sell the girls. Boom. Job done.
Well, if you can't compete, apparently they do have their place in the industry. Otherwise, they would have already done something else at this point.
But no, you just said it yourself. They're targeting maybe the Asian market. They're targeting maybe markets that Oculus is not that.
I mean, Facebook, of course, of course. Like, HTC has a free game in Asia, and Facebook doesn't. Like, Facebook has a hard time to even get there in the first place. And China is so big. It's crazy big. It's I don't know how much % of the planet they exist out, but if you sell a headset there and it's popular, then why would you care if it sells well in Europe or in America or anywhere else? It doesn't matter. So it might look like they're losing, but in the end, they're winning on their own grounds where they are, you know?
Yeah, of course. But then they're targeting a completely different market,
Yeah.
which they maybe should.
Anyone else want to get in a ring and put some gloves on? Because I could beat you guys up right now.
But no, I think you offered a really interesting and unique perspective on that, Nathie. That you're probably right that they dominate in the market and they don't need to necessarily compete here
I can tell, like, when I went to HTC's office and they showed me, like, they had data of all the headsets, you know, that came out. Like, you could just see how much they were dominating with their headset, but also their platform, because they sell this headset with, as you said, VivePart. Where VivePart here is not our main platform. We use Steam. We use, well, if you have an Oculus, you use Oculus, obviously. Where in Asia, like, VivePart is the standard, and VivePart even runs on headsets that are not from HTC. So it's like the Steam of VR in Asia.
But is Steam in Asia?
I think Steam is available in some moderated way.
I thought they got backed off of it.
That.
Yeah, I thought they got backed off of it, actually. I think Valve lost their right to sell.
So, I mean, that explains a lot why, like, you know, those kind of other headsets are, like, more popular there, because they simply can't sell them or they can't, like, advertise them there.
Yeah. The one last thing I want to mention about the Cosmos is that the president of HTC in China, Alvin Graylin, he tweeted this week a little video clip and showing that the Cosmos was capable of individual finger tracking without the need of a Leap Motion device.
Yeah.
Using obviously the cameras on the headset to track the individual fingers and represent them in game. But I was thinking of you actually, Zim, for this feature, because if you think about it, racing games, you don't want to be grabbing hold of controllers and stuff. So if you can track your hands and place your hands on the steering wheel with parity of your physical steering wheel, that'll be a really neat feature, right?
It would suck ass. I'm sorry, Mike. Without tactile feedback, and this is a problem with Leap Motion technology, because I had one, I used it, and it's just without the feedback, the applications are so limited that actually feel right. You know?
I mean, specifically for a racing driving situation.
But why would it help? Why would it help? Like, do you mean because then in that headset you don't need a steering wheel?
No, you're using a steering wheel, but you're not holding any controllers, but your hands are being tracked when you hold and let go of the steering wheel and move it around the steering wheel.
Then you're on the money. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Okay, so the rough tracking of your physical form with some smoothing, for instance, so that it's not just like your hands are jittery on the wheel or whatever, but it's kind of calmed down version of the tracking. Yeah, I could definitely see that being useful. Yeah.
Cool.
Also, talking about...
I thought you meant air motion controls, which is like having, you know, the Wii Mario Kart controller without having the controller. And I'm like, no way, Mike, I'm not doing that. That's terrible. Thanks.
But talking about Alvin Graylin, like, he had this whole, like, I don't know what they organized, like this event where they showed the Vive Cosmos. And he was, like, dressed up as Iron Man. I thought it was quite epic. But it's weird, then you see, like, the difference once again in marketing, where in Asia they have, like, this super big cool event and he makes it, like, you know, I think that Alvin Graylin is one of those examples of, like, hey, this is why you need a frontman for, you know, a front woman for a VR company to promote your headset, you know, like we had with Palmer Luckey back in the days with Oculus. Like, oh, I see this guy, I identify with him, I want to buy that headset too, you know what I mean? But it was interesting to then see his event and then what was happening in America and also in Europe, where they had these silly videos of someone playing games that I didn't really thought were really showing off the potential of this headset, and then talking about thumbsticks and, well, basically someone playing with a new headset and has no clue what it's all about. I was like, what is going on? I'm sure if you're like this regular consumer, you're not going to notice it, but I was like, yeah, what the heck is this? What am I watching here? What is going on?
Yeah, I felt the same way when I watched the video clip. It was very strange.
But that happens in marketing more often than not, where you put someone in there and it's like, this person has no idea what it is they're selling. Why did you pick this person to market your product?
I think what I saw through that video is that the problem with HTC is that they don't outsource their marketing like Facebook does in a way, and they do it themselves. And it's kind of like, okay, what tools do we have laying around in the office? Let's make some videos. That's how it feels like. And not like, hey, we have a professional company who knows how to target the right audience and knows what needs to be said in a video.
But again, maybe that's part of their strategy of like targeting a completely different market. Yeah. That they try to get like a more intricate connection. Maybe that's the way that they market things there. I don't know.
They definitely
also, the game that they were showing was a game that I don't think a lot of us have played before. But maybe it's a very big game again in the
yeah. But usually that's like it trends like the marketing that they do in America and Europe is coming from Asia. That's where they give the orders in certain ways, and then it gets translated.
I mean. Maybe
so this is what
for us it doesn't make sense.
That's
from a country where they do marketing completely different.
Yeah, true. You can see that.
Climax.
Yeah, you can see that. Yeah.
So is anyone in the chat? Did anyone say that they're pre-ordering?
Everyone left.
Yeah. Everyone left.
Yeah, they were like, these guys like.
Guys, I'm not having any Cosmos nonsense. Okay.
So you're asking, did anyone pre-order? I didn't see anything earlier.
That's cool. Like, I'll be able to give you my hands-on impressions of it when it eventually arrives, if it's any good or not. But intrigued about it is all else. So now, let's pass it over to...
Wait. The chat is like now responding to our request. I'll read it out. So DRGE says, tumbleweed rolls through. Nimsoni says, cricket sounds. And Onikaze said, I'm definitely not pre-ordering. Salsa Catcher said, nope, no pre-order. No pre-order. Zzz. No pre-order here. We'll wait for the review.
There's a whole waterfall of no, I'm not pre-ordering. We did a good job. Sorry, HTC. That's all right. But I'm really curious, Mike, to see, because very oftentimes, and this is the problem with the panel technology, is until you put it on your face and you try it, you don't know if you're going to be wowed by it or not. And the stats don't mean that much. And like Nathie said, you pair it with the right software, sometimes it feels great.
That's the thing.
And like you said, the comfort is another thing you can't, until you wear it, you don't know. So. And
it's a very personal thing as well. I mean, I think, Mike, you didn't have the same problem that I had. I had, with the Rift S, for instance, it's like flattening down my hair in a funny way. And after a while, what that does with the little bit of motion, that's sandpaper on your forehead. And it feels not good.
And one other thing that could sell me on this headset, which wouldn't affect anyone else, is that it provides a nice window output for recording content. Because the index has this kind of weird stretched on the right-hand side display. Oculus, you have to manually configure the field of view every time. So if it can just provide me a nice centered field of view for recording gameplay, then automatically it becomes my favorite headset for such a reason.
Well, in the end, let's say if it comes out and the reviews are positive and you're like, okay, this is interesting, try it out. If you don't like it, send it back. It's the only way to figure out if a headset is good or not. You can always buy it and return it and get your money back.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now is the time to pass over to Nathie to tell us all about a magical VR ride.
True.
Dutch theme park last week.
Exactly.
I've been there too.
Oh, you have?
Not the VR part. Oh,
okay.
I've been to some VR parts of it, but not.
So you've been to a theme park?
No, I've been to that.
Sorry, it's just the nature of the episode.
Bro. Cool story.
Yeah. Go on, Nathie. Go on. How do you pronounce this, by the way? It's in the title. I have no idea how do you pronounce it. Yeah.
So I went to the Efteling. The Efteling, yes, and it's a very famous theme parks under theme parks. It's not just your regular theme park. No, this is like a solid one. Has good theming. It's quite expensive to get in. It's like on the Disneyland level. If you've been there before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, maybe you should come here sometimes and check it out. But anyways, Mike mentioned at the start that, I checked out a VR roller coaster. It's not a roller coaster, by the way. It's a ride. I just put a roller coaster in the thumbnail because, hey, welcome to YouTube. No, it's because the ride, it's a dark ride. And putting it in the thumbnail would be like, okay, I don't see anything. So what is this? So I used the Python. It's like their most famous roller coaster. It's very... So if you like intense stuff, that's the way to go. But I checked out this dark ride. It's called Dream Flight. In Dutch, it's Droomvlucht. and it's taking you into a dream world where there are like fairies living and trolls and stuff like that. It's very magical. I think we're showing a video now, so you kind of get an idea of what it's like. And I think it's like 2-3 minutes long. It's for the entire family. It's amazing. And the ride vehicles are basically these. I don't know how to call them, but they're on like rails. So the rails is above you, and then you sit inside them. So it's kind of like you're floating. Dream flight, right? So you kind of want to feel like you're.
Are your feet dangling?
No. You're actually sitting inside like
a gondola.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so you're on rails and you're sitting in some seats, and does that actually go somewhere, or is it just you're wearing VR headsets and it's moving you around?
I know you're getting excited, but we're not at the VR part yet. I'm talking about vanilla ride. This is just without VR, so you can just watch this without VR.
Okay.
The ride is basically turning around too, so it's like 360. So sometimes it turns you to the other side to watch there. It has smells too, so you can smell like the fairies, like the magic, and also the wind and things like that. So it's all it's all there. The sea, etc., etc. It's very immersive without even VR.
Wow. Okay.
Now, let's say you are disabled and you want to get into this ride. That's going to be a problem because Dreamflight came out in '93. It's very old, and back then they just didn't have the tools yet to facilitate something like that. And the Efteling does have a lot of other attractions that do support that. Nowadays, if you are a big theme park and you buy a ride, it's standard that that's a feature that people can enjoy to a certain degree. In case of Dreamflight, they had to come up with an idea, like a solution, a custom solution to let people enjoy it too. Because let's say we're a family together. Yeah, we're a family anyways.
Hey.
But we go into Dreamflight, and then Mike's like, well, sorry, but I can't join you guys because I'm disabled. And that would suck because then we have fun, but Mike has to wait outside until we come back. And it's like, oh, Mike, we smelled the armpits of these trolls and things like that. And it was
so great.
It was so
I think Mike is like, yeah, okay.
maybe I'm lucky.
Maybe next time.
Like you get the feeling of missing out, and as a theme park, you want to give people the feeling of like this magic. You don't want to disappoint them in any way. If you get into this park, you're your number one priority. Okay, so what they did is it's very smart. So they decided to record this ride in actual 220 degrees with a 3D camera. So they mounted a big red camera in this gondola, in this ride vehicle with a stabilizer, and they shot the entire ride. So what you then get, and I'm sure if you Google or go on YouTube and you search for like 360 theme park, then you get all like roller coasters and things. So you can watch it within a VR headset and watch the entire ride. Now, the interesting part is that if, let's say, you let someone who is disabled try it in VR, then they only get the video. And that's it. They would still be alone trying it out. So let's say we would all ride it together, but Mike can't do that, and he goes into VR, then he checked out the ride, but he wasn't with us. So what they did is next to the regular entry where people go into, they have another entry called the virtual dream flight. This is only for people that are disabled, and they have in there they have 4 stations with Vives. No controllers needed because you watch a video, and you can sit there, hold the same because they usually strap you in, right? So they have the same replica of this thing you usually hold when you ride.
The safety rail.
Yeah, exactly. So you feel like you're in the same ride, even that you're in VR. Okay, now comes the genius part, because how do you communicate with your family? So what they did is, let's say Mike wants to try the virtual dream flight. He goes in. the family joins him too and says like, we want to, well, we're not disabled, so we can just go for the normal ride. So they combine this. They have a mixed reality experience here where Mike goes into VR, the family members go to the queue. They actually have a guide with them that takes them to the real queue of this ride. They get a little receiver, a little transmitter with radio contact in there. So Mike can talk to us while we are in the real ride and he's in the VR one. You still follow me here?
Yeah, I'm following you.
It's very like this. It's like super interesting how they did this. But yeah, so we can communicate with Mike. But how do you time that? Because when do you start the video? When does Mike start to watch the video? And when do we start the ride? Because you are in different places. Mike is in this room somewhere else, and we're going to go into the real ride. So how do you guys think they pulled that off? How do you think they synced the video, the virtual experience with the real one?
Skype. They just use Skype for the whole thing.
Skype. No, it's not Skype.
Thank God it's not Skype.
It's very unreliable, Zim.
We know. We know.
Do they literally sit next to people still in the team ride, or is that not the
you have your, like, of course you want to have a private experience with your family members, so you sit in one. I think you can sit there with like 3-4 people in one ride vehicle, so you're not gonna sit there with strangers, because that would be a little odd, because you're talking to someone that isn't there. So I
would have like a built-in sync point on the ride itself. So
exactly, that's it. That's what
that point.
Yeah,
it triggers the start of the video.
Yeah. So where there is a person sitting, of course, inside the ride that controls everything, that oversees that everything is going well. And the moment you step into the ride, there is this sensor that communicates with this transmitter that you got in front of you. It's like a little box, and you can wear it around your neck. And that's where the technology is in that says like, okay, now the virtual ride needs to start. So Mike gets the feed, and then suddenly he can also talk with those people. Beforehand, he's in this waiting queue that tells him like, listen, this VR experience is soon going to start. Then you can talk to your family. So Mike is in VR, we're in the real ride, and we see the same thing. So it kind of catches up with us. Although for Mike, it's not live. It's like a pre-recorded video, but it's super sharp that he gets the same idea. And now he could ride it with us, but he can't smell what we smell, and he can't feel the wind like we can. So what they did is they built in this like, little, it was like a little closet kind of thing with like how do you call it? Like a roster, like a module inside, and then something overlaying it that would also be timed with certain sensors within the ride. So when we smelled something in the real one, then the person in the virtual ride could also smell it at the same time. So that is all timed at the right moment, where it's really immersive.
It's like the similar kind of technology that they use in those like 4D cinemas in like 4DX or like
yeah, I know. But then in the end, what you do is like, since someone can't join something in real life, you create a 4D version of that.
There's a question about this 4D version, which is, I think it's a really fair question, because some people maybe don't want to ride that ride or whatever. Do you have to be disabled to qualify for the VR ride, or can you opt for the VR ride?
No. You, like, when you enter the park, you can get a. It's like they actually sign you up that you are disabled. So people at different rides know that you have to, get into a different entry. Otherwise, people could skip lines, things like that. It was funny when I was there. People were standing there like, "Oh, virtual dream flight. What is this?" They were totally lost. We're like, "Hey, can I try this?" Because it's different. But then, what I thought was that, okay, this is great for disabled people, because in the end, they don't miss out and families can have fun together. It's amazing. It's super cool that this is there. And it's the first time that someone nailed this. Disneyland isn't using this. Universal isn't using this. Also because they are, big parks, and they buy rides that all have this built in already. But for old rides, it's usually not the standard. So they told me that...
Yeah, it's also like because I mean the theme of the Efteling is like a fairly unique theme. It's like they use fairy tales, so all kinds of like the famous fairy tales. That's how it originated. It later like evolved into like an amusement park with like roller coasters. True. But I mean, I remember when I was like a kid and we went to the Efteling, like we went to like just a fairy tale forest, and you would get to like experience all the different kind of fairy tales from the Brothers Grimm, and like like especially the Dutch and the Belgian, they have a very like strong history with fairy tales. Everyone here loves fairy tales, so a fairy tale theme park makes perfect sense. And there's like that evolvement that you saw happening, that they introduced these kind of like new fairy tales or older fairy tales, and they started to integrate like more and more technology into that. And I think they have a very unique selling point in that as well. Do you know that there's one Belgian fairy tale in there, by the way, Nathie?
One
written by the Queen of Belgium?
No.
By the Queen of Belgium.
The Queen of Belgium, or the ex-Queen of Belgium. Okay. She wrote a fairy tale. Yeah.
So when you went to this park, Rowdy, when you was a kid, is that when you joined the Fellowship?
Yeah.
Go on, Nathie. Yeah, this is an awesome story, by the way.
Yeah, I it's great. And what I then thought about was, I was like, okay, Dreamflight is an old theme ride, and what if they take it down? Because sometimes you want to build something new. I was like, this way you have a time capsule. You could always go back in there, enjoy it, and you could even have a virtual theme park in a way where you have an arcade, but instead of having an arcade where you need to shoot things and blah, blah, it's more of like, hey, at our arcade, you can check out this Six Flags roller coaster. We also have from Disneyland, the Buzz Lightyear laser gaming thing, and you can just experience all kinds of rides from theme parks.
So Baskin Robbins of theme parks, it seems like a really cool.
I feel like if a theme park really wants to make some money and also get some advertisement, you could sell your ride virtually.
Your franchise rights
because if you're for example, in America, you have theme parks that you don't have over here in Europe, but that doesn't mean that you will not be able to ride them then. So they could sell an entire ride system with haptics, smells, everything included, that would just replicate.
Put them into one of those like 4DX cinemas, and
kind of
multiple people's in there.
Yeah,
I smell American hamburgers. Oh my god, it's just like the motherland.
I would totally be down, for paying for an experience to go on that Millennium Falcon ride. In California, because it's going to be difficult to get there.
True.
I would pay for that if it was a good enough experience, to do remotely.
Yeah, it would make sense to do something like that when it's overseas, because in America they wouldn't do that because they want you to go to Disneyland. They wouldn't be like, hey, Mike, Mike tried the VR experience. Oh, now he's not coming to the park, because if Mike enters the park, he is gonna wear his nice BB-8 little hat, and he's gonna run around with his zippy, his zippy cup. So then you spend way more money, of course. But yeah, this is a one of a kind thing. It's not done anywhere else. This started as a student project, by the way. This was a student who said to the Efteling, "Listen, I have an idea. Maybe we should do this," and they invested into that. And that's super cool. And hopefully we're gonna see this back at more parks. And so that's like Dreamflight.
I got a quick question. So, did you get to try both the physical ride and the VR experience, and how did they compare?
Yeah, that's a good one. So they were asking...
Wait. How did you get in if it was only for disabled people?
Just there to shoot.
No, I had to act like, no, of course not, because I could try, because, science, I'm the science guy at that moment. They wanted to show me what I thought about it. And they were also down for a video. So I might go back and then cover this more and then really show you what the mechanics are like, because I'm very interested into theme parks. It's something that I would love to do after my YouTube career, where I'm in this VR expertise of like theme parks. I would love that. But how did they compare? They were asking me, what do you want to try first? Do you want to try the VR one first, or and I was like, what would make more sense? What would you guys do if you tried Dreamflight about, let's say, 10 years ago, and now you get the opportunity to do it again, but this time there's also a VR version? What would be the order? I was like, there must be an order. There must be.
I would go for the original one first, just to be able to compare it.
Okay. Well, I did the other way around. I don't know why. I still don't know if I made the right decision or not.
I would have done the VR one first as well, though, I think.
Yeah. I think it's because there's an advantage to doing the VR one first, because then your expectations aren't like up here and you're just basing on memory. It's kind of like if anyone's ever reloaded particularly like an N64 original PlayStation game. It can hurt a little bit when you go back and see those graphics. So I would probably start with VR and then do the full ride to kind of understand and be like, oh right, the smells that I had in the booth there when I was in the virtual ride, they're on the real ride. And of course you'd get things like wind effects are not going to be the same, but you could then appreciate to say that was 70% of the experience that I am now experiencing, you know?
Yeah. So comparing them, it's hard because in the end, I'm someone who tried a lot of VR for the last 5-6 years, so I know the difference between what's real and what's not. You know what I mean? But if you are someone that just gets in there, you have the time of your life, and it's real. You know, it's super real. For me, like, I know it's not real, even that they try to have these smells and things like that. But for someone who never tried VR, like the first time you try VR and it's this, then you're like, whoa, I just tried the real thing. It feels real for sure. I do think, and this is just something from the VR bubble level, is that they used like the Vive, and I'm like, you know, you could maybe bump it up because I had glare, like a lot of glare is crazy. And that's something that could have done better, but I think that someone who jumps in there doesn't care.
No.
So, yeah.
I think it's an awesome story, and I think it's great that they were able to make that experience accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, I think hats off to them for doing that. It's incredible.
And a theme park also being open to do this, because it does take time, it does take some money. They had to build another entry for the virtual Dreamflight. And, you know, I'm talking about the vanilla story here, but there was so much more going on because the software needs to be adjusted for the VR one. There are wires running everywhere. You need actual staff members that are educated, know what to do when you say like, hey, listen, I have someone in the virtual ride. I want to ride the real one now. And they did well. Like the staff, they were super instructed. They were clear about what you had to do. No, super nice, super clean. Really, really cool.
I'm a horrible person, but I'm going to say that this wasn't done out of the kindness of human hearts. I get a feeling that this was, again, if you're a board level person who's owning the park, you're probably saying, we have EU regulations to adhere to. We need to cater for this audience that we can't. Either we have to tear the ride down, replace it. You know, it's probably an economical solution for them as well. I'm only mentioning that fact because, like you said, Nathie, there is a business case here for other parks to adopt it, even when it might undercut the take that they would have if Mike goes through that park buying, 3 BB-8 hats.
Yeah, and funny enough is that when this got introduced, then suddenly people realized that this was never a ride that disabled people could get into. So it was never known to anyone that it wasn't available. So then it suddenly, like this guy told me, like this whole discussion started of like, so why didn't it happen before? And, stuff like that. But yeah, now you can officially ride everything in the Efteling.
So if people want to go to this park, if they're ever in the Netherlands, in your native land, whereabouts is the place they can check it out?
It's in Kaatsheuvel.
Oh, can you write that down for me?
But the Efteling is like an international park. There are a lot of people coming there from the UK, from Germany, from Spain. So they have a website. Everything is in English. And again, this is a solid park. This is not your funky theme park. No, this is like, saying.
It reminded me of Tomorrowland, actually. I don't know if Rowdy...
That's also because Tomorrowland is very much like fairy tale inspired.
Yeah, exactly. But that was the first thing that hit me when I started to see the kind of diorama. Yeah. Tomorrowland's a massive annual festival in Belgium.
I've got the feeling that if Rowdy was one of those like magical characters, he would be that one that's like half like a goat, half a man.
Absolutely, the half goat, half man. Yes.
like him. He looks like him.
Oh, are we gonna now like?
I look like a half goat. Is this how we're gonna end this this episode?
Wait.
Rowdy looks like a half goat.
So if
I'm out of here.
So Rowdy, because Rowdy, now you can compare Mike to a fairy tale character. Go for it.
Wait, I got one for all of you now. Mike is the guy with the long neck.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, long neck.
Long neck.
I was more thinking about Mike being that little monkey in Aladdin.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of just comparing. I mean, you can roast me too if you want, but
let's start with an insult. Let's end with an insult.
So yeah, if you've got any insults for what mystical creatures you think we might be,
God.
But also put your questions in there as well, because we're going to wrap up the show now. We have been running on a fair amount this show, but we've had a lot to talk about, so it's kind of one of those. Hope you've enjoyed it nevertheless. But just a reminder, this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can also catch the show live in VR if you want to. Chat with other like-minded VR enthusiasts using big screen TV. It's such a cool way to watch the show. A lot of people are enjoying it that way. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Anchor, and Spotify. Zim's not going to be here next week. You're already flying out to California.
Wednesday. Yeah, I'm flying out on Wednesday.
Warming it up to meet us there, and then after that, so not this week.
Warming our seats.
Yeah, I'm warming up California, Mike. Definitely. I'm gonna.
After that, we'll be doing a show from the show floor at OC6. It's likely going to be pre-recorded and then premiered at the usual time, but we'll try and catch up with you in the chat.
We'll get you updated on the AR headset that Oculus is gonna launch, right?
Exactly. So roast away or questions, either way, I don't mind.
Oh my God, Zim Talk Wicked Witch. Hey.
Nathie is a teacup.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. It's not that bad.
Mike was Apu.
I'll take that. Apu, yeah.
Rowdy is Prince Charming. Damn it.
Yes! Rowdy's paying someone in the chat, clearly.
That's just me, my alter ego.
Someone was saying to me, bring in the Quest, I hope, Zim, to test your PC streaming. Maybe. That was definitely my plan, and I said I'd do it. I tend to travel very light when you're doing this because on my way home in particular, I have 4 airport changes to get back home. So if anyone's ever had to go gate to gate, like I literally sprint through airports sometimes to make those flights. So I don't know. We'll see if I can pack it.
So we can scroll through your PC files at Connect.
Yeah, exactly. See what's
Uh-oh.
Also, next week, we'll be giving you our OC6 predictions. So if you've got any predictions, juicy ones, then think of them this week and let us know next week on the show.
That sounds good. So I have one more thing that I shortly want to talk about. This is coming from my brother, David. So he said to me, like, listen, there's something going on with my recommendations on the Oculus store. So he's using an Oculus Quest to introduce, older people to VR. So we're talking about chill experiences. But for some odd reason, when you turn on your notifications in the Oculus app and also email, you sometimes get an email like, hey, maybe you should play this, or hey, maybe you should check that out. So he's getting things such as epic roller coasters and Arizona Sunshine, and all he's playing on this Oculus Quest are like, relaxing experiences. So I was wondering, did you guys ever, like, I'm signed up too, I'm also getting super random stuff, but do you guys also see like certain...
No, but I can explain why that is, because the same thing happens on YouTube as well. It's because an algorithm determines not what you like, but what you probably would watch or probably would try. So even if you like say, oh, I only watch chill experiences, you're still gonna suggest it because a lot of people like that. And that's the same thing as what happens on YouTube with suggested videos as well. Is that a lot of people like this video. We know that you probably won't, but we're still gonna suggest it because a lot of people like this video. And that is a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the funny part is, like, it could be data driven, but when he went back into his mailbox to see what else he got as recommendations, he had Spider-Man, the coming home experience, also a few others that were all getting sent out the week they got released, and it feels like it's more handpicked than really data-driven in that sense. And I think data-driven is usually better than handpicked. But I was just wondering that sometimes people, they enjoy their Oculus Quest so far, but they get these odd recommendations that they should actually not get. Imagine someone going in there, but it's totally not their kind of like vibe they're in. Then it could kind of scare them off. So I don't know.
Maybe it would be better if they would introduce a system like, I'm not interested. For example, on Steam, I think you can select like, I don't want it to be recommended for like RTS games, or I don't want it to be recommended for that. But I don't think Oculus has something like that in place. So they're going to suggest like whatever is popular on the platform always, I think.
I have all the notifications turned off anyway.
It just says like, based on what you played, you should try this out. But based on what you played is sometimes a very large gap. Maybe it's like Netflix. Netflix does that too, right? Where you watch something like My Little Pony, and then you suddenly get something super violent, and it doesn't make any sense.
Like the kind of algorithms they're using is.
I never watched My Little Pony.
Okay, My Little Pony's cool, man.
The kind of algorithm they're using is they're putting you into profile maps. So they say, people with this kind of profile also typically like these kind of games, and if that is around a release date of a certain game, then those profiles often gets like mixed up a bit, and then you get that kind of suggestions.
But there we go. We've also just found out that Nathie's a brony.
I just used an example. Okay, I'm a brony. Okay, I'm a brony and I love it.
So you kind of look like one, to be honest. That jacket's coloring. Sorry.
I'm a My Little Pony, a living one.
All right,
cosplaying one right now.
We've been going on for like 2 hours and 10 minutes. We're all going a bit crazy now. If you've stuck around for this long, then you're the real MVP, and I applaud you. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week at the usual time. Have a great week in VR, and until then, bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Goat.